Hexagram number 26. The taming power of the great, dealing with crescendo of awfulness situations. In the creative process, there is often a buildup of tension so that the situation we are enduring seems to get out of control. In the course of self development, we develop an inner power and independence that creates envy in others, particularly in those whose egos are firmly in control. This envy causes them to test us to see if we can be driven off balance or if we can be driven away from serenity, to become doubtful and fearful. The effort succeeds if they can arouse our fears, spur us to anger, or otherwise cause us to become disturbed by their inferior behavior. This challenge to our inner independence succeeds if we give up our requirements of what is just and correct, or if we become involved in controversies they initiate. If they succeed in such efforts, they will feel satisfied that our virtues are not real, that they are no longer obligated to grow and change, and that they no longer have a cosmic obligation to deal correctly with us or with the issue at hand. If we maintain our inner independence, firmness, and integrity, the testing will continue through a crescendo of awfulness, an almost unendurable tension, then end. At this point, the aggressors become repulsed by their behavior, and they make an important forward step in correcting themselves. During the awfulness, everything looks hopelessly stuck, as if the wheel of fate cannot be budged. Only our steadfastness frees it to bring about progress. By keeping still during the buildup of tension, and by keeping free of worrying and wanting, we attain the way of heaven, as it is put in the 6th line. Crescendo of awfulness. Situations may be caused by envy or by the residue of major conflicts, which the I Ching in Wanderer, Hexagram 56, calls lawsuits. Inner lawsuits arise when one person gives up another. Inner lawsuits arise when one person gives up on another. This giving up is evidenced when we undertake defensive or aggressive actions, erect permanent barriers, or maintain a series of impossible requirements that the other person must fulfill before we will forgive them. Requirements that relate to satisfying our injured pride are impossible to fulfill within the limits of spiritual dignity and differ from requirements that others relate to us in a just and correct manner. Ego-generated barriers and demands cause retaliatory responses. Ego-generated barriers and demands cause retaliatory responses. Many divorces begin with inner lawsuits that persist an entire lifetime. National or racial conflicts persist for generations. When tense and trying situations occur, we should ask whether we carry grudges, harbor prejudices, or list demands that have to do with injured pride. For a crescendo of awfulness situations, this hexagram counsels us to hold still, hold firm, and hold together. Holding still refers to keeping our inner thoughts quiet and neutral. We neither seek a comprehensive solution nor to know the outcome. Holding firm means we do not doubt our inner sense of truth or abandon what we have learned in our I Ching experiences. We hold firm to what is correct. If we waver by doubting what we know or by worrying about what the outcome will be, we begin to defend ourselves. Efforts at self-defense, however, are only bravado. The more we struggle, the more we undermine ourselves. In this predicament, we must hold firm. This means we brace ourselves against our own anxiety, as if we were standing in the surf, allowing a large wave to go by. The power of the false dragon like the energy of the wave, dissipates if we are determined to stand fast. Its power lies solely in its ability to arouse our fears and doubts. Our power, on the other hand, grows to the extent that we are willing to trust the unknown. Holding together means that in spite of all challenging forces, we do not give up on others' superior potential or their ability to perceive and correct their errors. Too conveniently, we brand society's worst offenders as subhuman. No one is outside the human family. Each of us has the potential to be the worst sort of human being, given appropriate conditions. The more we deny that there is an understandable reason for others' behavior, and the more we condemn them as impossible, the more we trap them into wrongdoing. Our rigidity aids and alerts their misunderstanding of the truths of life. A just and correct point of view is always moderate. Perseverance furthers a determined, independent attitude, tames strength. In this case, the negative power of fear and doubt. Here, strength refers to mindless energy to do something, to cause. Here, strength refers to mindless energy to do something, to ease the tension through persevering, not responding to this pressure. Great power is produced. We also develop strength of character and thus nourish people of worth. In strengthening our inner selves, we strengthen the superior potential of others. The counsel to not the counsel to not eat at home means that we resist doing the easy, comfortable thing. The firm ascends to the top means that through remaining firmly persevering, we transcend the challenges, thus honor the sage. Heaven within the mountain means that although we have the correct ideas in mind, the heavy burden of knowledge must be shut away in silence. until the doors of receptivity in other people open and a real influence can take place. Throughout the first 5 lines of the hexagram, the time is not ripe, but the last line indicates the time has come when obdurate resistance gives way and an outlet is offered for the release of stored up energies. This change in conditions occurs through no effort on our part. If we try to make it happen, we fly before being fledged, as it is put in the first line of preponderance of the small hexagram 62. Giving actuality to the past refers to others whom disciplined and developed themselves, who held in their principles in the face of adversaries as, forgive me, I'm going to read that one again. Giving actuality to the past refers to others who disciplined and developed themselves, who held to their principles in the face of adversities. When we hold to our principles and control our ego, we share their experiences and thus give actuality to the past. Remembering them helps us to be strong. The correct way to study the past is not just to consult the I Ching, but really to discipline our inferiors and apply the counsel of its lines. Excuse me, changing line number 1. Danger. It furthers one to desist. Fear and anticipation have jarred us off balance, so that we stand ready to engage in conflict and striving. Our energy is no longer centered, but directed forward. It is time to keep still within, not to act. Keeping still enables us to compose ourselves. The assault of the false dragon makes us want to use any means to do what justice and right seem to demand. But doing anything now would complicate things, requiring us to retreat. For the moment, we must endure the inappropriate and evil situation. To give those responsible for it the space they need to correct themselves. We should avoid doubting what we know to be true, that those misbehaving are in the wrong. We must not execute them, but rely on the unknown to show the way past difficulties. We should not seek a comprehensive answer to the problem, as this would only create self-conflict. Changing line number 2. The the axle tree are taken from the wagon. The axle trees are taken from the wagon. Although we may be tempted to force our way, circumstances prevent it. Being thwarted, we should compose ourselves and remain content to wait. Self-discipline allows creative energy to build. Changing line number 3. A good horse that follows others' awareness of the danger with perseverance furthers. Practice chariot driving and armed defense daily. To move past the hindrance in our attitude, it is necessary to meet and deal with it several times. This is to practice chariot driving. Adversity is the vehicle that arouses the fears and doubts we need to face. At first, we develop only an intellectual perception of the correct response. Repeatedly dealing with the problem makes our intellectual perception knowledge of the heart. A good horse refers to our willingness to be led through such practice. Through this process, we face our fears and endure being jeopardized emotionally until we are able to see that the things we fear are harmless. We are unable to follow like a good horse if we stubbornly hold to emotions such as doubt, desire, or anger at injustice that cause us to be rigid like a balking horse. We are helped to gain power over them if we remember others who have endured similar practice. Until our emotions have been thoroughly dispersed. However, we should remain aware that they will mount other attacks. We will need to remain alert. Meanwhile, we must not allow ourselves to be worn down by hindrances. Changing line number 4. The headboard of a young bull. Great good fortune. The bull refers to the unreasoning energy that arrives. Forgive me. I'm going to start that over. The headboard of a young bull. Great good fortune. The bull refers to the unreasoning energy that arises from hidden emotions such as desire, fear, or anger. These energies manifest themselves as capricious impulses to extend or defend our point of view, whereby we press ourselves on others. Sensing our lack of inner independence, those we wish to influence remain unreceptive. Through realizing the futility of efforts driven by our emotions, we put a headboard on the energy they generate, thus forestall their wild force. The headboard of understanding enables us to withdraw and wait for the right time to have an effect. Changing line number 5. The tusk of a gilded boar. Good fortune. Here, wild force refers to energy fueled by desire. Only by inhibiting our heart's desires can we achieve the inner freedom and independence that automatically has a good effect on the situation. Changing line number 6. One attains the way of heaven, success. The build-up and thrust of power is moderated by modesty and perseverance in inner equilibrium. When the obstructions in our attitude are thus overcome, creative energy is released, and another step in correcting the general situation is achieved. This completes hexagram number 26.